we can start that section now. So I will start by introducing the 5 courses that you'll be offering in the Nigerian Law School. I will introduce those 5 courses to you. Then I will take you through the three three period of your stay here at the Nigerian Law School, which is the 3 terms at the Nigerian Law School, and then a few things related to what Barrister Camille had also mentioned earlier. All right, so let's start with the 5 courses. So by now you know, I'm sure you have seen your law school lecture timetable and also your orientation timetable. So law school offers 5 courses. Um, First is criminal litigation. The second is civil litigation. There is no particular order. There's no particular order. So we have criminal litigation, we have civil litigation, we have property law practice, then we have corporate law practice, and then we have professional ethics and scale. All right. So I'm trying to, the purpose of this section, particularly on the 5 courses, is just to introduce you to the course and give you the right approach in relating with these 5 courses. Now, before I go to the 5 courses, I need to make this known that um, unlike in your university where you have compulsory courses and then you have elective courses, here at the Nigerian Law School, the 5 courses are compulsory, no elective. You have to do all of them. And secondly, is that you have to pass all of them across board, as in all the 5 courses, you must pass them because the law school grade or the law school grade system is such that your weakest your weakest grade will most likely affect the grade you will graduate with from the law school. So what I mean is that the course that you have the lowest grade will actually affect your the grade you will graduate with at the Nigerian Law School. So we have the first class grade, which is our aim for all of you. Then we have the 2-1 grade. Then we have the 2-2 grade, and then we have the pass. And for you to have a first class like Barrister Camille and others, you need to have minimum of 70 across board. And in that order, for you to have a 2-1, you need to have um, below 70, but um, above 60 or 60 and above. For 2-2, in that order till you get to. I just want to just let you know. So that's why it is very, very important that you pay attention to the courses. Now, it is not 100% so, as in it's not 100% that is your lowest grade because there are other things that comes in. There is a cumulative grade and a lot of that. But like I said, I've been around law school for the past 11 years. And one of the things I do, apart from I do for law school graduates, is to help them process some documents in law school. And I have seen breakdown of results that actually make me cry. I've seen breakdown of results for students that were really, really motivating. So we have the two extremes, but it's important that you know this approach. All right, so back to these courses. Criminal litigation and civil litigation, I call them the litigation course. So they are basically procedural courses. They are courses that basically relate with you resolving disputes relating to either the rights and obligation of parties, which is an offshoot of what you learned at the university when you look at the basic legal rights, relationship, responsibility, and all of that in related courses that you did in your university. So in the two litigation courses, you need to pay attention to this this area. What is or what are the provision of the law that relates to what I am required to do? So, for example, in civil litigation, your focus is the rules of the court, the rules rules of the court that governs or that provides for how certain things are to be done. And particularly for your set, you have to deal with a new rule in civil litigation, and that is the FCT High Court Civil Procedure Rule, which came into force in March last month. So you need to so all previous textbooks on civil litigation are now subject to review because of the new rule. All right. So you need to get a copy of that rule, whether hard copy or e-copy. Very, very important. The Lagos High Court rule is still intact, so you can read that up in textbooks and in other materials. It's still the same provision. Now, for criminal litigation, you will be dealing with the provisions of the law that provides for a criminal proceeding, and that is AJA, Administration of Criminal Justice Act, and then we have AGIL for the states. Administration of Criminal Justice Act is the law that is applicable to all the federal courts and in the FCT. While AGIL by the state is the law that applies to criminal procedures before the various states. As of last check, law school deals with AGIL Lagos and AGIL Kano. So you need to get these laws. All right. So this litigation courses basically relate to how you resolve disputes in court. So the emphasis is on court, but of course in civil we also have the topic whereby you discuss ADR just in passing. Now, particularly, I will dwell more on civil litigation, corporate law practice, and professional ethics tonight because of time. Now, for civil litigation is divided into five modules by the law school structure. Law school structure is into five modules. And for you to understand what we mean by the modules, is just for you to know that law school, like I mentioned earlier during the introductory speech, is that law school lectures or law school program has 20 weeks of lectures. 20 weeks of lectures. So by the law school calendar, you resume last week, orientation starts this week, lectures start fully next week. So by next week, when you start lectures, you are already 3 weeks gone in the law school calendar. And so lectures start from week 3 down to week 20, particularly for courses like civil litigation, corporate law practice, property law practice, professional ethics and skills. Criminal litigation is short or shorter than them. So when you start lectures in civil, you have from week 3 I think week 15 or week 16. That's where you have the whole the first module. So in terms of the topics, I can just do a rundown. You have in general introduction to civil litigation and all the sources of civil litigation, preliminary matters to commencement of action, commencement of action in magistrate court, commencement of action in the high court, interlocutory application, summary judgment procedure, pleadings, trial, trial, trial one and two, and then you get to judgment and enforcement of judgment, and then application pending appeals. Yes. So all of that we have mentioned are just one module in civil. Then you now have the individual topics towards the end, and that is recovery of premises, election petition, fundamental human rights. That's the last one. Um, Recovery of premises, election petition, fundamental human rights. Then you also have matrimonial causes. So these are the last set of topics. Now, one interesting thing for you, which apply to for these courses and for you to pay attention to, which apply to other courses, is that in an ideal exam, scenario, law school will not set all the exam in module one because module one is actually the most bulky part of the module. Law school will still pay attention to the other modules. So all the other topics, the small topics that are left, law school will still have to pay attention to it. I will not say more than that because it's just an introductory. I go in details with my students one on one and give them specific areas where they should pay attention to. All right, but that is civil litigation. Another thing you are meant to consider as per civil litigation is the draft, because civil litigation is wide, the scope is wide, and you have different drafts. So, civil litigation as a course, you have you have about 30% of civil litigation on principles of law, and then you have about 70 to 65% on drafts. In fact, in exams, sometimes students call it evil litigation because of the effect of dealing with the workload. And the barrister Camille already mentioned that what happened in law school is not that law school is an impossible task. No, it is just that it is an overload of information. It's a system that deals with overload of information. So it's like compressing all that you did for 5 years in the Nigerian or at your university now being comprised into about 6 to 9 months um, training at the Nigerian law school. So it's very, very important you pay attention to some of these things. In law school, I did tell my students in law school, you don't need hard work. What you need in law school is smart work. You don't need hard work. Leave hard work to those who are not informed. Let them do all the hard work, and probably they might they might have some regret. But what you need in law school is smart work. And what do I mean by smart work? Get the right information, utilize the right information, implement them, personalize them, internalize them, and let them work for you. That's basically what you need as far as law school is concerned, because you get to a point whereby your strength might not even carry you again, but it's some of these systems and structures that you have put in place that will push you and encourage you till the very end. All right. Um, Another thing that I would like to say on civil litigation is that you need to segment your study in such a way that you are able to catch up on both sides. On both sides, in the sense that you have to prepare for the rainy day, and but I will still come back to that when I'm looking at the 3 period at the Nigerian law school. Now, um, for corporate law practice has almost the same compartmentalization as far as like civil litigation. And this is what I mean. From tomorrow, sorry, from next week, for us in legal learning, from tomorrow we start our lectures. So, but for you at law school, from next week, the first thing you are going to do in your first 2 week of lectures for corporate law is that you will see how CAMA 2020 amended 2023 has divided corporate law practice as a course into about 6 parts. And this is this basically represents the modules of corporate law practice. So you will start with incorporated complaints, you will move to limited liability partnership, then you move to limited partnership, then you move to business day, and then lastly incorporated trustee. But before then, you will have looked at the provision of CAMA that relate to the establishment of the Corporate Affairs Commission and the other regulatory bodies. So basically, that's how you are going to go through it. One specific thing you should note as regards corporate law practice is that corporate law um, is full of procedure. Corporate law is the advanced version of company law that we did in our university. So it's full of procedure, and you need to learn how to navigate your path, learning, understanding the procedure. I must tell you, I must tell you as the truth that corporate law could be so boring, as in it could be so boring, as in you might find yourself reading corporate law and at some point close your book, go to sleep, come back, you will still be tempted to close your book. So I recommend that you give civil litigation, corporate law practice the required attention, not above other courses, but give it the required attention the workload that comes with these courses. Corporate law also have a few drafts, so you might also have to deal with draft of resolution, notice of meetings, memorandum of association, and all of that. But you can easily deal with that. It's not as bulky as civil litigation. All right. Property law practice. I will just quickly mention property law practice. Property law practice is the advanced aspect of land law. I love land law. I teach land law in Bar 1 and I enjoy it. I teach other courses, but I enjoy land law so much. But it's the advanced version of land law. So it's basically, please how to understand property law practice. It basically relates with transactions relating to property, the documents involved in those transactions, the parties involved in those transactions, the nature of interest transferred in those transactions, and the procedure of the law in perfecting title or perfecting the interest of parties in those transactions. There are basically 5 transactions in property law practice. Just basically 5. The first one is sale of land. Sale of land. The second one is donation of power to do something on behalf of another person. The third one is lease or tenancy. The fourth one is mortgage. And then the fifth one is bequeathment of property or interest via will. So once you basically understand these 5 transactions, then you are good to go as far as property law practice is all about. Paying attention to all those things that we have mentioned. Property law is easy, but it's very, very technical because there are certain information in between that you need to pay attention to. All right. The last course is the okay, so before then, so property law and corporate law practice, I merge them together as the procedural courses. They are procedural because they have so much of procedure, they have so much of things you need to pay attention to in between the line and all of that, and also know how not doing this will affect this and all of that. So there are quite a number of procedure in corporate law practice and property law practice. And then the fifth course is professional ethics. Professional ethics is wide in its scope, though very small in terms of the paperwork, but in its scope is wide. So in professional ethics, you will learn about the legal profession, particularly what are the basic information you must know as a lawyer in the legal profession. So the history of the legal profession, regulatory bodies, um, um, what are the duties, what are the various interrelationship between the bench and the bar and all of that. Then you now come to the second aspect of professional ethics is the professional duty or ethical duties of lawyers, and that's where RPC come. I was so happy when Barrister Camille was talking about he going everywhere with RPC. It's a small book, but I tell you, it's small but mighty because hardly will there be one bar final question on professional ethics without it having at least one question on ethical duty. So you need to you need to you need to learn your rules of professional conduct as much as possible. All right. The third aspect of professional ethics is the ethical is the sorry is the ethical skills. Ethical skills. So ethical skills, you need to know all the skills that a legal practitioner is required to have. So communication skills, drafting skills, advocacy skills, and all of that. So you learn a few things on that. Client interview, drafting, different document. There are different documents you draft in professional ethics, ranging from curriculum vitae to minutes of meeting to even draft of internal memo. Um, yes, I mentioned minutes of meetings and a few other documents that lawyers might be required, including letter writing, letter of adjournment, letter of confirmation of instructions, and all of that. All of these you have to learn to draft them. Then the fourth aspect of professional ethics as a course is the aspect that relates to the establishment of a law office. So in your RPC, you will learn the importance of a lawyer having his office. You will not commit a breach of the rules of professional conduct, and that's Rule 22. calling at client's house or place of business for the purpose of taking instructions. So a lawyer is ideally expected to have an office. And this when is to set up the office, there are quite a number of things that is expected to know. That's what law school will teach you. So you start by learning the various units of practice in Nigeria and how the lawyer can raise funds to establish his office. What are the various units and space that the lawyer is expected to have in his office, the rooms that he should have, and a few other things. In fact, you will take this course before you go on externship, because your externship program is to expose you to uh, a part of this. And then the last aspect of professional ethics is the aspect that relates to legal practitioners' accounts, keeping record, how the profit aspect of the legal profession. So how the lawyer is meant to keep record, is meant to keep accounts and all of that. So you will do a bit of calculation at that point, cash book, ledger, and a few things at that point. But this this basically is a summary of the five courses as it is that you'll be dealing with between now and December by God's grace. All right. I'm rushing so that we can end in case we have any question and attend to them. So Barrister Camille has also mentioned that uh, law school is divided into three parts. So we have the the first term, which started last week Monday, officially started last week Monday, um, and that is resumption to orientation to induction and then commencement of lectures. The second term is your extension period, and then the third term is the completion of lectures and then exam. Like I mentioned earlier during the introductory speech, in our days at the Nigerian law school, law school was a bit structured in such a way that students complete their lectures before they go on extension. So that means it's like an intense 3 months, 3 months lectures. The only thing is that then we do resume October, so we know that you can go on Christmas holiday for a few weeks and then you resume back in January, and then you take your lectures from January to March, and then you are good to go on extension. So, but that's how it's being run. But now, because of the system, you will probably just be around week 10 or week 11 before you go on extension. So you have lectures uncovered, and then you have to go on extension and come back to complete lectures. And I think for me, it's more difficult, it's more challenging than it used to be. But that's what it is now. So let's deal with it. Now, what are the peculiar things that you should note about this first term of your stay at the Nigerian Law School? One is know that law school has a well-structured system that that will subject you to certain things that you are not used to. So get prepared for whatever law school might bring your way. The one thing on this note is that deal with your personal differences as early as possible. Your personal differences may be, all I mean by that is your probably your style of doing things. This was the illustration I used in a private discussion with a few of my students last week. I said, so it's possible that some people here or some students had never had very early morning lectures, or they have had a very early morning lectures, but it wasn't really compulsory, so they could just work. But one thing you should note is that once lectures start in law school, please don't joke with lectures. You need to meet 75% attendance, 75% attendance for you to be able to write exam. And I mean it, 75% attendance. No 75, if you don't meet up to 75% attendance, you will not be allowed to write the exam. Don't ask me what happened after then. That's just it. You will not be allowed. So please don't miss lectures. Don't miss lectures. That's one thing. So structure yourself in such a way that you will not miss lectures for any reason. Now, because of time, a few things come into mind regarding this statement I've just made. It has to do with how do you run your day? I mean, your day from morning to evening, till night, and then to the next day. That's what will determine your state of mind for you to attend lectures the next day. And then if you take it cumulatively, it now to do with how do you run your day in a week, your weekend, and then to the next day. So obviously, if you go like Barrister Camille said, if you go on a night, if you go for a nightclub or a night party on, let's say, probably on a Monday evening, or let's say probably on a Thursday evening, the tendency is that you may not wake up early for you to be able to attend lectures. Now, on attending lectures, law school is being structured in, like I've mentioned, is week-long lectures, Monday to Friday, no break. Once you start Monday, you end it on Friday. Same time you go to class, same time you come back from class. The time varies from different campuses, but here in Abuja campus, it's basically 9 to 1:30. I know of other campuses like Lagos campus that they close even around 4 or 5 in the evening, and a few other campuses. So you need to deal with how your body it will be structured to the system, because averagely in any Nigerian university you don't attend lectures for more than 4 hours. I've lectured in one or two institutions, and I know that in fact I was head of exam at a particular institution at some point, and I know that even for you as a lecturer to say you want to teach your class beyond 4 hours requires a whole lot of effort. But here in law school, you are dealing with more than 4 hours of lectures, and the reason is because it's not one lecture that will teach you. It's just a few persons, a few lecturers in law school that I know that can engage you for long hours, and then you will not be tired. So for those who are a bit elderly, how will you cope with sitting down for 5 hours at a stretch and probably just have 30 minutes break? And then know that you are doing that not just for 1 week, you are doing that for 1 month or more, and then you come back, you repeat that same cycle till your exam comes. So you need to have that mindset and should be able to deal with that. Then your personal life must also be structured in such a way. So some people they are early riser, some people sleep late, and all of that. And also on attending lectures, I need to stress this. Please endeavor you are prepared for every class. My personal experience in law school shows this. All right, so by God's grace, when I was in law school, apart from what my university, when I got to law school, I was engaged in class one, that's Christian Lawyers Fellowship of Nigeria, and I was the president at the Abuja campus. Then I had two funny experience. Then there was this cardigan, this customized class one cardigan that I do wear. Then it was cold to class. And on the two occasions I wore the cardigan to class, they passed the mic from the first row to me in the middle of the auditorium for me to answer a question. So you can imagine class one president standing up in the whole of the auditorium waiting the customized cardigan, and I'm unable to answer the question. So I, from the first time that thing happened, of course, that being my practice, I pay attention to me reading and preparing well as if I will be called upon to answer questions in class. And I tell you, that really helped me. It helped me to be to step up my game. It helped me to be well prepared for class. It helped me to know that I am not here to play. So I don't go to bed every night until I'm done reading my notes for the day. Now, Barrister Camille says something which I also want to stress based on my experience. Forming of notes. You don't if you, whatever works for you, that's what you should use. But I will help you with this. You don't need to actually do handwritten notes. You can use electronic notes. I mean, you can use PDF materials that you can add comments, you can add a few things to you can strike out certain part, certain portions that are not necessary. I know that we have quite a number of tech savvy people here, and my members of the Gen Z generation. But the point is that you need to just get this information to know that this can work for you. So while I was in law school, I started forming notes. But for the second week, I stopped forming notes. What I did was that my note was on my laptop. I go to class with my laptop while the lecturer is giving us new information. If I cannot type, I just bring out my notes. I notice, then I look for a convenient time to just type and impute it, and or sometimes I will just make reference to where I wrote it in my notes, so that when I'm reading, I will know that this thing is, and that was what I did all throughout law school. I did not open any textbook in law school until after extension. And after extension, what I was doing with the textbook was just for me to just add up with my notes. So okay, this is what this is talking about, and all of that from a wider perspective, because I have read a few, or I've read most of those topics, so I know what I was looking for in the textbook. So I can tell you that I wasn't part of those that I read my textbook cover to cover in law school, because I tell you, reading textbook cover to cover doesn't help anybody in law school. Nobody will give any award for that, no recognition for that. All that you're expected to do is for you to adopt the system that works for you. So, very, very important. Don't go to class without preparing. Have a system that works for you, particularly regarding the materials you read. So I love Barrister Camille's response when some people are asking for all of those materials. Despite the fact that I do tutorials for students both privately and in larger platform in church, I don't recommend any materials to any student. I will give you as many as possible that are available, and then I will tell you to try them. The reason is because what works for me will not work for you, or may not work for you. So you need to know what works for you. And it's not just in you knowing what works for you, but it's also for you to know how that thing will work effectively for you. So it's very, very, very important. So about your notes, about everything, some people are just good when it comes to hard copy, while some are good when it comes to electronic related matter. So you need to know what works for you regarding that. All right. So the first term we end with your externship. Now, I want to stress this. I want to stress this. Please note that from now to December, you don't have a break. It is a marathon sprint race. It's a marathon sprint. Marathon sprint. There is no break. Every holiday you have in law school is for you to maximize and utilize to your advantage. So, what this is what I mean. As much as possible, try to have a plan that works for you. It is a rigid but flexible to an extent plan that works for you from now till law school. What I mean by could be flexible is that it should be subjected to change. When certain things happen, you should be able to change it. I said something in church today that ministered to me a long time ago when I was in school. He said, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Please, no one here on this call should just say, oh, let's just go on, let's just take the day as it comes. I've seen in a few platforms that I am, and I've seen people's response, oh, okay, tomorrow is orientation, let's see how it goes, and all of that. No, bad way of starting your program at Nigerian Law School. If law school says orientation is from 9 to 1 o'clock, that means that before 9, from when you wake up till 9, you should be able to account for it. From 9 to 1 o'clock, you should be able to account for it. From 1 o'clock after orientation till when you go to bed, you should be able to account for it. And what will help you to account for it is you having a plan. You having a plan. So do your daily plan, do your to-do list, do your academic reading or study plan. These are three different things. Your to-do list, things you need to achieve and all of that. Your daily plan from when you wake up to when you have your devotion and all of that. Because There are quite a number of distractions. So in order for you to maximize this period, you need a plan. As in, you need a plan, or you need different plans that will work for you at different times. So very, very important. So by the time you are proceeding on externship, whether you like it or not, you have covered about 6 to 7 weeks of lectures. And once those weeks are gone, you cannot cover them again. You cannot recover them. So that means that, and the effect of that is the 1 week of lectures that we're talking about is criminal litigation, civil litigation, corporate law practice, property law practice, professional ethics, 5 courses in 1 week. So you need another 1 week for you to be able to catch up with that 1 week if you miss that 1 week. I don't know if this is clear. So you have to be, and then you have to be a bit strict on yourself. You have to be a bit firm regarding your time because really you don't have that time in law school. Don't miss any lectures. I said that earlier and I will stress it. Now let's go to extension period. I'm rushing so much so that we can just attend to everything and end this section latest by few minutes to 9. Now, the extension period, for me, I consider it as a game changer. I consider the extension period as a game changer in the sense that the extension period is one time that you can decide to top up your game. If probably you find yourself lagging behind, you resume late, and all of that. I know that a few people have not even gotten the admission, talk less of posting, talk less of registration, and all of that. But if you're in that category, and if, for example, you are either in Lagos or any city where there is a Nigerian law school, please wear your white and black and go to school, even where you are waiting for admission and you have not been posted. Just attend the activity for that day in school and then go back because it goes a long way. It goes a long way in preparing you for the journey ahead. It goes a long way in preparing you for that journey ahead of you. So that's my advice. But it's just an advice. You might decide to do whatever is convenient for you. Now, externship. By your law school calendar, you have 5 weeks of court externship, you have 5 weeks of chambers externship. In between them, you have 1 or 2 weeks break. Now, your externship starts from that day you leave campus. Your externship in the sense that your second term starts from that time. Law school will give you 1 week. Please don't see it as a break. Don't see it as a break. Don't see it as a time whereby you say, hey, my friend, we are now on holiday. Now I can come and visit you. Please, you have enough time for you to do the visit after your bar finals. Just calm down. In fact, I told my private students that if possible, reduce the number of people that knows that you are in law school for any reason. Let it just be that you are in law school. And you talk about that because you see there are people that we don't know who sent them, but they will just be disturbing your life because you are in Nigerian law school. So very, very important. But back to the extension period. So as much as possible, develop a plan, like Barrister Camille said, develop a plan that will help you to maximize the extension period. That 1 week, you can achieve so much in 1 week. In 1 week, I mean 7 days, if you invest minimum of 4 hours of reading in that 7 days, 4 times 7 is 28 hours. So you can do so much in 28 hours in 1 week. And you're just doing 4 hours in a day, just 4 hours. Just 4 hours. You can spread it 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, doing your reading. With 28 hours, you have been able to cover. Imagine somebody that now just play the last week and then externship starts. Now you're not going from home or wherever you are to court. You get to court, the court will sit from morning to probably afternoon. You get back home, you are tired and all of that. So before you proceed on extension, have a system and use that first 1 week to get used to that system. that you have developed for yourself. Very, very there's so much of uh, planned and all them and things that you probably don't see that might crop in into your plan during extension. But I can tell you that you can use the extension period to cover so much. This is my advice, and this is what we do in legal for us as students. When you're proceeding on extension, develop a plan that will help you to cover up with all that you have done in school for probably the weeks of lectures that you've done for at most the first 1 month of extension. Then the second month of extension or the remaining month of extension, use it to catch up with, use it to read ahead of what law school will be teaching you by the time you resume back from extension. The reason is because there is usually this rush when you come back from extension because there are also so many other activities. So let me just go to the third term. So the third term will help you to be able to the third term is actually the time where you are back to school to cover up, catch up with lectures, finish up lectures, and then proceed on your personal revision before exam. It's usually between two months or 2 months, 1 or 2 weeks. Usually, at most, it's usually that. So I think from your calendar, maybe from I think September, October, or thereabout, or yeah, October, November, December, in between that. So you don't actually have so much time. So whatever you have done during the extension will have helped you to catch up, and then you can start your personal revision for the bar final exam immediately you resume back to school from extension. So what you will just do is that the topics you've not done, because you have read them before doing extension, before you resume back to school, you will now use the law school lecture as your revision, as your revision of those things that you have read. Most times in legal learning, we do free, free 1 or 2 weeks classes with the students of the Nigerian law school towards resumption from extension. That's when we are done with our extension master class, or we are rounding up extension master class. Because that's one of our service to to the students. So if you we can give if you help and assistance in that but if you are able to utilize your extension period, I tell you that revision will not be a challenge. Now, there are some people that what you see, even if I continue to say all that I'm saying about preparation and all of that, they are wired in such a way that they will want to get crash law school and bar final exam. I know there are some people like that. They may not be here, they may be here. In case you know them, tell them that there is one barrister one day that says that you will know them. So those people that may want to get crash the bar final exam, this is my counsel for them. You can get crash. Of course, if you are get crashing bar final, except if you're a genius, that's when you expect to even have a 2-1. The probably the best you can get is a 2-2 or a pass. But this is what I have for those that may get crashing. Some people want to get straight crash, certain circumstances, maybe health issues, and all of that. Go for and get an assistance and go for help. Get help as much as possible. Help in the sense that because you have a short time for you to do what is required, you need a system that will summarize all of these things for you and help you. And this is also particularly for probably those who are a bit elderly on this call and all of that. You may also need to just reach out and ask questions, meet people, and so you can we can come up with group discussions. You can have a few meetings here and there where you go just discuss together. But ultimately, know that if you need help in law school, please don't be quiet. Don't be silent about it. Voice out. Because at the end of the day, what matters is that you pass and you pass in the legit way. So whether somebody taught you, someone assisted you, someone started over overnight and was explaining anything to you will not matter at that time again. What matters is I do tell my students, I say, see, my goal is that you pass. If you pass bar finals and you are called to Nigeria, but if you see me tomorrow, don't greet me. I will not be angry. The main thing is that you pass. And by God's grace, I can tell you that I have to my credit over 5,000 students that can say that, oh, by the reason of this effort, that effort that we've done. I've had people that few days to exam on phone, I will just talk up to them, oh, do this, go and do this, do and this. And then oh God, by the time result is out, I follow up. And when result is out, oh, thank you, I passed, and all of that. And that may be the last time you may hear from them. So it's from a genuine heart that we are doing this to ensure that you actually get the help that you need. So please, if you are in Abuja campus or you are in any other campus, reach out to me. I'm going to type in on this call now my personal phone number where you can reach out to me for whatever assistance you need. Um, and you can also ask your personal question and whatever it is, you can contact me. You can always see me if you're in Abuja campus. You all can always see me in Abuja every Sunday after service because I'm the academic coordinator of the church. All right. So you can also reach out to me to join my private class. Our classes are running physically in Abuja campus, directly opposite my Nigerian Law School. That's where we use the all in SHR Western Hotel. You can join from other campuses online. Reach out to us. Let's discuss the modalities and also the fees, and then you will not regret being part of this. You will not regret being part of this. So by the time you come back from externship and results, I tell you, at that time, usually very, very critical, critical moment. But all of these that we have put make you to be able to navigate that path. Lastly, I want to talk about two things. Barrister Camille mentioned them, but I want to stress them. Is that in law school you need a good support system. You need a good support system. As much as possible, don't joke with this. Starting with who is your roommate. A guy met me last session and was telling me about the agony and the pain he was going through in the hands of his roommate. To the point that he could not even he find difficult to sleep in the room. And I was like, where have you been all this while? Why have you been silent? Why have you been keeping this? As in, I could help you talk to this, talk to that person, and then all of these issues will be resolved. So you need a good support system. For those who are married, for those who are not married, you need a good support system because I tell you, law school could be so emotionally draining. Something happened to me when I was a student in Nigerian law school to tell you how it is because I used to think that I was strong at that time. By Thursday evening after fellowship, I just discovered that I wasn't in the mood of talk to anybody. By Friday morning, it was bad. I just greeted my roommate, went to class. People were talking to me. I was not just responding to them. I could not eat all throughout that Friday. And I was almost getting depressed. I just said to myself on Saturday morning, as early as possible, I said, I need to run out of this campus before something else happens. Just packed a few things that I needed, went somewhere which I will not mention, and that was where I spent my Saturday. I was back on campus on Sunday afternoon. I was refreshed. So to get to that point where you might need to just just cry out and say, please save me, I'm sinking. But whatever it is, have a good support system. And the last point I want to make, which is very, 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 very important. I'm a pastor by God's grace, an ordained minister in the Redeemed Christians of God. And I do this passionately because I see it as a ministry. I'm unapologetic, a child of God, and I believe the kingdom principle. And I know that there is no success without the collaborative effort of God. So you need spiritual support to navigate your path in law school. Ask a pagan that comes to law school, they will tell you that there is something divine about passing by. There is something. This is not trying to preach church. This is not trying to, do church and all of that. There is something divine about bar finance. I will use the testimony of Barrister Camille. When she came back from extension, she met me in church and told me that they can only this is my intentions, and I said, "Wow, that's good." That was after a prayer meeting taking in church. I said, "Wow, that's good," and all of that. But I told her, I said, "Please be consistent with whatever it is that God has told you to do. Don't miss it. Don't miss it." And you heard from her. She was consistent at doing it. In that same set, unfortunately, in that same set, there was a particular person that got so carried away by the workload that he stopped coming to church. And people were asking, what happened? This brother, blah, 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 and all of that. And I can tell you that my jam results came out. Of course, Barrister Camille had the first class. These are beloved members. I don't want to mention him, and I don't want to be tempted to mention him. Had a tutu. And I was like, see, you did this to yourself because the grace of God was actually available for you to actually get what it is, as in that grade that you wanted. So don't say, don't trade God, don't negotiate your dealings with God. Just go for it. Whatever God says you should do, whatever system that has been working with you regarding your personal life, please go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Law school program may seem to be a lot, but it's a very short period of your life, of your entire life. You yourself have just about we are in April, we are in April to December, April to December. So that's just plus or minus about 8 to 9 months, and you are done. Everything you are done, and you go back to your normal life. So please prioritize God, prioritize Him as much as possible. Make sure that you don't trade God for anything, no matter what it is. All right. So it's at this point that I will draw the curtain. I've been able to capture everything I have to say on the various platforms that you probably got the link to join this meeting. We'll share further information about how you can reach us and get to know about what we are doing at Legal Learning Academy. So that's that for this evening. Watch out for another insightful free section like this, possibly when you're about to go on extension or at the beginning of your extension. We are going to use almost the same set of people. Barrister Lupe will not be able to join us. She mentioned that she will not be able to join us because she is not through from the meeting where she is. But I assure you that by the next time you'll be hearing from us, it will be another very insightful session where you'll be able to learn and um, gather necessary information that you require, particularly for your externship, and then for your after externship, you also be hearing from us. All right, so it's at this point that I want to ask if there's any question. Anybody that has any question unattended to, you could probably just omit yourself and ask question. We have like next 5 minutes for us to wrap up our discussion and then end this session. So anybody that has any question, either for me or for Barrister Camille, or just go ahead. Anyone, you can go ahead. Okay, it seems there's no question. All right, so but in case you have any question, my number is in the in-call messages 07069429036. That's my personal number for you to reach out to me. Um, I have a business line which you probably see on our flyers and other materials relating to us, but this is my personal number. All right, so thank you very much. I want to appreciate everyone that is still on this call till this time. I want to Ajibola, who took our time to take us the first talk. I want to appreciate my beautiful wife, who is also here with us. I want to appreciate all my students at Legal Learning and others. I hope I'm still audible.